Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about Tom Aspinall versus Marcin Tybura fight card, and it's a pretty interesting card. 15 fights in London, not what you would typically expect for a London card. You have Molly McCain and Julia Stolarenko as a co-main event. I personally think it should either be, it could be any other fight. Molly McCain could be the fucking first fight, could be the second fight. Not great, but either way, we're going to do a full card breakdown this week. Just with time and stuff, I was only able to do a full card breakdown, so that's what we're doing. Next week, or after 291, it'll be back to individual ones, and then right before the card, it'll be a full card breakdown. Today we're talking about Jeffel Filio versus Daniel Perez. Jeffel 14-3, 4-1 his last 5 fights. His one loss, like we have watched, was against Muhammad Makayev 2 months ago. He made it a scrap. He made it a good fight. 30 years old, 5'7" with 68.5-inch reach. Daniel Perez 16-5, 4-1. His one loss is against Carlos Hernandez a little over a year ago. He's 34, 5'6" with the 66-inch reach. 2.5-inch reach advantage for Jeffel. I like Jeffel in this fight. I think he's a more well-rounded fighter. I think he's pretty good standing up. He has 5 wins by TKO or KO, only 1 win by decision, 8 wins by submission. And again, he was holding his own there for a little bit with Makayev. Had a really nice fight. The Contender Series actually showed his punches, how much power he has in his hands. Daniel Perez, like I said, he's 16-5 on a 4-fight win streak. Is 34. He'll be 35 in December. He's had 16 wins. He has 13 finishes. Has been also submitted twice. Lost the Contender Series, like I said, against Carlos Hernandez, which was a split decision. So, okay, he has a lot of first-round finishes. A lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 out of 16 wins are first round finishes. So, but I like Jeffel in this one. I think he's a little bit more well rounded. I think he's a little bit better on the ground. I have Jeffel winning this fight. Let me know if you guys agree. If you disagree, let's talk about it. Next, we have Bruna Brazil versus Shauna Bannon. Shauna Bannon recently got signed to the UFC. Bruna Brazil 8-3-1. She's also 4-1 in her last 5 fights, losing her last one against Denise Gomez. Right hook and ground strikes. Kind of sounds like what she did to Yasmin. 29 years old, 5'6" with a 65.5-inch reach. Fighting Shauna Bannon, 5-0. She's a slight underdog, but she's 29 years old, 5'5" with a 69-inch reach, 3.5-inch reach advantage for Shauna Bannon. And if you've watched Shauna Bannon fight, she's really fun. She only has a couple finishes on her resume. She only has a couple. She has been, that's amateur. She had a lot of amateur fights. She went 8-3 as an amateur. Again, she only has 2 finishes by TKO or KO. 1 in the first round, 1 in the second round, and then 3 straight decisions. She's fighting Bruna Brazil, who again was looking decent before that getting finished by Denise Gomez. Beating Marnik Man in the Contender Series with a head kick. She has boxed as well. It's weird because she's had good moments, but the Denise Gomez fight, she didn't really look great. And as soon as adversity came, like some people called, she didn't also look great. I think Shauna Bannon wins this fight. I just think her game plan, her grappling, her execution of certain things is just going to be better than Bruna Brazil. I don't think she's going to finish her. I think it'll be close at first, but I like Shauna Bannon winning this fight. Next, we have Chris Duncan fighting Yanel Ashmaz. Chris Duncan 10-1, 4-1 his last 5 fights. His one loss is against Valishev Borachev, Slava Claus. 30 years old, 5'10 with a 71.5-inch reach. Fighting Yanel Ashmaz 7-0. beat Sam Patterson. It was one of the nastiest beatings I've seen since I've been watching MMA. It was nasty. 28 years old, 5'9" with a 68-inch reach, 3.5-inch reach advantage for Chris Duncan. The issue I have with this fight with Chris Duncan is even if he's winning these fights, his chin is always there. We've seen when he fought Omar Morales, he got hurt a multitude of times. I actually thought Omar Morales could have won that fight. He's no longer in the UFC, just got cut because he lost to Duncan. But I thought he looked, it was his best performance, was Omar Morales. Omar Morales' best performance was against Chris Duncan. And even then, he has a big issue when he comes in, his chin's right there. And fighting a guy like Yano, who did what he did to Sam Patterson, you gotta think he's probably gonna catch Chris a couple of times, and Yano has some stupid power. I really like him in this fight, and even if he doesn't finish him with punches, I think his ground game is really good. Even if he only has 2 wins by submission, he has one. The last fight was his only finish. That was in the first round. He has a couple in the third, a couple in the second, a decision in there. Again, I really like Yano Ashmes to win this fight. And then next we have Caitlin Vieira versus Patty Kanzad. Caitlin Vieira, 13 wins, 3 losses, 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Her one loss as of recent is Raquel Pennington. It was a split decision. She got a couple wins over like Holly Holm, Miesha Tate. She lost to Yana Santos, which hurts my eyes to see. I don't get that at all. Pretty sizable favorite at -200. 31 years old, 5'8" with a 68-inch reach. Patty Kanzad, 16-6, 4-1. Her one loss in a while was Raquel Pennington. She's a plus 160 underdog. 31 years old. Yeah. 31, 5'7", 66-inch reach. 2-inch reach advantage for Caitlin Vieira. I think she's just going to be the bigger woman. I think she's going to be, when it comes to those moments where it counts, like against the fence, against the cage, looking for takedowns, I think Caitlin Vieira in close is going to do better. Patty Kanzad has to keep this fight at a distance, and I just don't think she's really good enough to do that. I like Caitlin Vieira in this one. I do think she has power. She does keep her chin up, but I like Caitlin Vieira in this one. Next, we have Brian Barberena versus Makhmud Muradov. Brian Barberena, 18 wins, 10 losses, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Is on a 2-fight losing streak at plus 230 underdog. 34 years old, 6 foot tall with a 72-inch reach. Makhmud Muradov, 25 wins, 8 losses, also 3-2, also on a 2-fight losing streak. Hasn't fought in 8 months and got out-grappled by Kaya Borello. -280 favorite makes sense. 33 years old, 6'2", with a 75.5-inch reach, 3.5-inch reach advantage for Muradov. On paper, this is a terrible fight for Brian Barberena. Brian Barberena is really good if he can make fights a dog fight. If he can make, like how he fought Robbie, how he fought Matt Brown. There's certain times, like how he fought Vicente Luque, even though he ended up losing that fight. There's certain times where he can pull fighters into doing what he wants them to do. The issue when you fight Muradov is he's constantly looking for that finish, and he's not a crazy submission threat. At least not in the UFC. He hasn't been. Yeah, he has 3 wins by submission. Has been submitted 4 times in his career, which Brian's not going to submit him. Has 1 loss by TKO or KO, which was Dr. Stoppage 7 years ago almost. So, he actually started out his career not great. 11-6 at one point. Now he's 25-8. 14-2 since then. Not bad. Again, I just think Muradov hurts Brian at some point and submits him. I know he's not a big submission guy, but he has to understand the grappling for Brian Barberena has been bad. Even though he has fought good grapplers like Gunnar Nelson, RDA. Yeah, I know, but he's been submitted 3 times. He's 9-8 in the UFC, 5 losses, 2 losses by TKO or KO. I could see Muradov finishing Brian Barberena. As the fight goes on, and if Muradov starts to slow down and Brian can survive, expect Brian to turn it around and start beating up Muradov. Live odds are going to be key in this matchup if you're going to bet. It's going to be key. But let me know what you guys think about that matchup. Next, we have Mick Parkin versus Jamal Pogos. Mick Parkin, 6-0, from England. 27 years old, 6'4", with a 79-inch reach. Jamal Pogos, 10-3, 4-1 his last 5 fights. One loss against Alex Polizzi, heel hook 3 years ago. 27 years old as well. 6'3", with a 77-inch reach, 1 inch in height, and 2 inches in reach for Parkin. I like Parkin in this one. I think he's the more well-rounded fighter. I think Jamal has some good things about him. He's won 3 in a row. Has been submitted twice, one by finish. That was his first pro fight. Actually, it was a finish. He got finished. Jordan Young armbarred him. Alex Polizzi submitted him. Was supposed to fight Tafon Nchikui. Jesus. I think he tested positive for something. That's why he's been out for so long. And then he beat Josh Parisian in his last one. Again, I like Mick Parkin in this one. I just think he does things a little bit better than Jamal. I think he only has 1 win by submission, but he has 5 wins by TKO or KO. And I just think he puts stuff together a little bit better. And his one submission was against Eduardo Neves, 5-0 in the Contender Series last year. Again, I just like him. I just think he does a little bit better. I just think he's a little bit more well-rounded. I think he executes better, and he's going to be home. That's really going to be it. He's home. So I like Mick Parkin on that fight. Next, we have Mark DeCasey versus Joel Alvarez. The way that Mark DeCasey, 16-6, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, 30 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. Joel Alvarez, 19-3, 4-1 in his last 5, getting destroyed by Arman Sayukian last year, about a year and a half ago. 30 years old as well. 6'3" with a 77-inch reach, 4-inch reach advantage for Joel Alvarez, and a 4-inch in height for Alvarez, something like that. Yeah, 4 inches in height. Jesus. Again, the way that Mark DeCasey has been fighting, my God, the way that Mark DeCasey has been fighting, he hasn't really been striking a whole lot. He's been liking grappling. He's been trying to, better his game or whatever, but he lost to Michael Johnson 7 months ago, basically by getting out grappled, which is weird. He lost to Rafael Alves in a fight that weird. He got caught with a guillotine. And then Rafael Fisivor. He actually tried to strike a little bit in that one. Just was on a masterclass in that one. Again, I like Joel striking in this one. I think he can do some really good things. I don't trust that ground game, and I expect Mark DeCasey to put a heavy implement of grappling in this one. I gotta sneeze. God dang. Okay. Yeah, Mark DeCasey, I believe, wins this fight. I think he wins by a decision. I think he's just going to grapple. He's seen too much. He destroyed Thiago Moises. He beat Alexander Yakovlev. Jesus Christ. Joe Duffy, he beat Daniel Bernaldo. He beat 4 years ago. Again, just the ground game is not great from Alvarez. His striking is awesome to watch. The way that Mark DeCasey's been fighting, like I said earlier, I have Mark DeCasey winning this fight. I just think he wrestles enough. It might not be very exciting, but I think Mark DeCasey wins this fight. Next, we have Davey Graham versus Johnny Parsons. Danny Roberts, 18-7, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, on a 2-fight losing streak. From England, 36 years old, 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. Johnny Parsons, 8-3, 31 years old, 5'9" with a 69-inch reach. Way shorter, 5-inch reach deficit for Johnny Parsons. I like Johnny Parsons in this one. Again, he's 8-3, is on a 5-fight winning streak, has been finished twice by punches, has no submissions, 6 wins by TKO or KO. Looked pretty good against Solomon Renfro. Not great, but he does have power. He is fast. He does cover distance very well. The one thing that I'm a little torn about is Danny Roberts. Like I said, he's 36, and this is England, baby. I gotta expect the very, very best from Danny Roberts. And Danny Roberts looks good when he's at his best. So I'm actually gonna pick Danny Roberts in this one. I think fighting at home, fighting motivated, on his 2-fight losing streak, getting destroyed by Madalena, having a close fight with Francisco Trinaldo. I think Danny Roberts wins this fight. I think he pulls it out some way, maybe a quick finish or a decision. I think he wins the fight. Next, we have Davy Grant versus Daniel Marcos. Davy Grant, as we all know, very fun fighter to watch. 13-6, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. 37 years old, 5'8", 69-inch reach. Daniel Marcos, 14-0, destroyed Saman Oliveira. 30 years old, 5'7", with a 69-inch reach. Just a 1 inch shorter than Davy Grant. This fight's going to be a scrap because the way that Davy Grant is able to eat punches and then throw his own, I mean, the way he was able to finish guys like, what's his name? Jonathan Martinez, how he finished him was nuts. Marlon Vera was close until the back half of the second round. Adrian Yanez was close. Some people thought Davy Grant won that fight. I didn't think so. Destroyed Luis Smoka and then beat Rafael Sansao with an inverted triangle to retire Rafael Sansao. And again, you always have to remember, Davy Grant takes a lot of punishments in his fights, and he just fought 3 months ago. By the time they fight, it'll be about 4 months, but still. Daniel Marcos, again, finished his last opponent. He's won 20 in a row, amateur and pro. Beat Brandon Lewis by decision. Beat Oliveira. Knees to the body, was able to hurt him there. 6 wins by decision, 8 wins by TKO or KO. Doesn't really have to worry about the submissions threat, but I do think if he can hurt Davy Grant, he can submit him. I think Daniel Marcos wins this fight. It might be fight of the night for this card, but I think Marcos wins enough of the exchanges. I think he's going to be a little bit quicker. I think he's going to be a little bit more technical. I think Daniel Marcos wins this fight. Let me know what you guys think, as always. Next, we have the main card. Lerone Murphy versus Josh Kubilau. Lerone Murphy 12-0-1. He's 4-0-1. Jesus. In his last 5 fights. His slight favorite is from England, so 32 years old, 5'9", with a 73.5-inch reach. Josh Kubilau 11-1-1, 3-0-1, 3-1-1 in his last 5 fights. Did get a draw against Charles Jourdain, which seems a little nuts. Plus 130, 29 years old, 5'10", with a 73-inch reach, 5.5-inch reach advantage for Lerone Murphy. The biggest thing I think with this fight is fighting at home. Josh Kubilau, I think, has what it takes to beat Lerone, and I think if Lerone fought better against Gabriel Santos and it wasn't a split decision, to where some people thought Lerone Murphy lost that fight, I probably would have gone Lerone because he's very accurate when he goes. You have to expect Lerone to really, really go at Josh because he's going to be home. I don't expect him to have nerves. I don't expect him to be waiting. I expect Lerone Murphy to go right at Josh Kubilau. The issue is can he do that for 3 rounds? Because I don't really think Lerone's going to be able to get Josh out of there. And that's why I have to pick Josh. I think Josh wins this by a decision. I think he starts off the fight getting beat up a little bit. And as the fight goes on to the second, maybe middle of the second to the third, he starts to pull away a little bit and he wins a decision. Josh Kubilau does. Next, we got Jai Herbert versus Faraz Saim. Jai Herbert 12-4-1. He's 2-2-1 in his last 5 fights. 35 years old, 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. Faraz Saim 13-4, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. 26 years old, 6'1" with a 75-inch reach. 2-inch reach advantage for Jai Herbert. I like Jai Herbert in this fight. I don't think the wrestling is going to be good enough from Saim to hold Herbert down long enough. And I think Herbert has just had a rough schedule. But yeah, Jai Herbert, they said he's 12-4-1. He has 10 finishes out of his 12 victories. Has been submitted once. 3 has been finished. All of his losses are finished. 3 by punches, 1 by submission. He's 2-3-1 in the UFC, 5-0 in Cage Warriors. Again, had a draw against Ludovic Klein where he looked pretty dang good. Beat Kyle Nelson as well, looked okay in that one. Was beating a little Tybura as well, different weight class for Tybura. Caught with a head kick, and then Tybura ripped the head off of Jai Herbert. It was nasty. Looked really good against Karma Worthy, but it is Karma Worthy. Was looking decent against Francisco Trinaldo as well back in 2020. But it was finished, obviously. And then he had, 1, 2, 3, 4 straight finishes in Cage Warriors, and that first round finishes. Or no, 3 first round finishes and 1 in the third, and that's what got him the call to the UFC. Again, Reese McKee finished him in the first round with punches. I didn't expect that, but okay, cool. But yeah, I like Jai Herbert in this fight. I can't see Faraz Ziam holding him down enough. He has 5 wins by submission when he's also been submitted 3 times. A little bit weird there, Yeah, I like Jai Herbert in this fight. I think his striking is really good. I think his takedown defense is good, especially as the fight goes on. Even if he gets on the ground, he's typically pretty good at getting up or reversing it. I like Jai Herbert in this fight. Next, we have Andre Muniz versus Paul Craig. Paul Craig making his middleweight debut. Andre Muniz, 23 wins, 5 losses, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. His one loss as of late, 4 months ago, was Brandon Allen. Broke him and rear naked choked him. Crazy. 33 years old, 6'1", with a 78-inch reach. Paul Craig, 16-6-1, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. His one of those losses against Volkan Ozdemir, who just stayed away from his ground game, stayed up. And then he fought Johnny Walker. Johnny caught him really early. Plus 160 underdog for Paul Craig. 35 years old. 6'3" with a 76-inch reach. 2-inch reach advantage for Muniz. 2 inches in height for Paul Craig. I actually think this is going to be really bad for Paul Craig. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a hard time making the weight. And if he does miss weight, I think Muniz is already going to be the bigger, stronger guy than Craig. Obviously, Craig's going to be taller, but that doesn't mean Muniz isn't going to feel like he's bigger. I think he's going to be thicker. I think his top control is going to be menacing for Paul Craig. I think he's going to have a real hard time. And I think we see Paul Craig get finished by Muniz. I think he shows that there's levels, and you can't just go down. He has the frame, but this is a tough fight to go down a middleweight for. I like Andre Muniz. I think he wins by finish. I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes him with a punch. Wouldn't be surprised with punches. Next, we have Nathaniel Wood versus Andre Fili. Nathaniel Wood, 19-5, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Is fighting in England, 29 years old, 5'6", with a 69-inch reach. Andre Fili, 22 wins, 9 losses. He's 2-1 in his last 5 fights. 33 years old, 5'11", with a 74-inch reach. Andre Fili's going to be the taller by 5 inches and 5-inch reach advantage for Fili. The issue I have with this fight, especially not only fighting in England for Wood, is I think Nathaniel Wood's movement and his speed is going to be a big issue for Fili. But Fili is really good when it's you go, I go, you go, I go, you go, I go, and then he sets the pace. He's really good with that. If you're able to go before him, always has had trouble with that. Always. I really like Andre Fili. I love his nickname. It's awesome. But I think Nathaniel Wood's movement, speed, and output is the biggest difference in this fight. I think Nathaniel Wood wins this fight. And I don't really see it being that close, to be honest. Next, we have Molly McCain versus Julia Starlarenko. Molly McCain fighting in England, 13-5, 3-2 in her last 5 fights. 33 years old, 5'4" with a 62-inch reach. Julia Starlarenko, 10-7-1. She's 1-4 in her last 5 fights, plus 260 underdog. 30 years old, 5'7", with a 69-inch reach. 7-inch reach advantage for Julia. 3-inch in height for Julia Starlarenko. Again, even if they end up on the ground, I don't think Starlarenko is going to be able to submit McCain. I think McCain's going to be bigger than her. Especially, I think McCain's going up. Even if Starlarenko is going down, Molly McCain, I believe, is going to be the stronger fighter. And I think this is actually a good matchup. Starlarenko is good with her submissions, but she's also been finished by Chelsea Chandler. I cannot pick her. We watched what Chelsea Chandler did, what she ran away from Norma Dumont when she got hit. I can't pick her. Molly McCann, I think, wins a decision, especially being home at London. Yeah, think she wins. Next, we have Tom Aspinall versus Marcin Tybura. Yeah, Marcin Tybura, Tom Aspinall. I think this fight is way better than what people are giving it credit for. Tom Aspinall, 12-3, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. The one loss was the knee injury against Curtis Blades. And again, it should have been a no contest. Curtis Blades obviously did not win that fight, and there was nothing that Curtis Blades did that caused that knee injury. He is a minus 450 favorite, which seems a little crazy. Is fighting at home, of course, 30 years old, 6'5", with a 78-inch reach. But he's fighting a guy like Marcin Tybura, who's 24-7, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. And I thought he actually beat Volkov, so he should be on like a 5-fight win streak, something like that. Plus 350 is a really, really good amount of odds to put some bets on him, because he's really good as the fight goes on. His starting this fight, he's gonna be a little hesitant just to see what Tom Aspinall does, and I don't think Tom Aspinall's necessarily his punches are gonna hurt Tybura. His elbow definitely could. How he finished Bivak. His ground game is really good. He is very fast. His movement is very good. Again, Tybura does have good takedown defense. 37 years old, 6'3", also 78-inch reach, 2 inches in height for Tom Aspinall. See, I'm very curious on how many times Marcin Tybura has been taken down in his career. I'm very curious about that. Let me see. I wonder, hopefully UFC even says it. Hopefully. Find a recap. Okay. History, don't care. Takedown accuracy. He's attempted 59 takedowns. He's landed 11 of them, so not great, but he's very just go. 79% takedown defense. 56% striking defense. I wish they would say. History, don't need that. I guess all we're really gonna get, unfortunately, why you fight history? Yeah, but either way, 79% takedown defense. He is really good at stopping those takedowns. He averages per 15 minutes 1.39. He lands a lot of strikes, significant strikes landed per minute. Almost, it's 3.5. Absorbed about 3.3, so about the same. He gives what he takes. Significant strikes landed. He's attempted 1571. He's landed 764, which is actually not terrible. Again, not crazy with the takedown efficiency. He doesn't get a lot of them, but he's constantly going for them. And again, as the fight goes on, if he can make enough reads, he can do some really good things. I think plus 350 for Tybura, I would be nuts not to put some money on that. And I think Tom Aspinall wins this. I just think he starts the fight out very, very well and gets ahead on the scorecards. I could see Tybura winning the 4th and the 5th and making that fight very, very fun. I think some people are sleeping on Tybura in this fight. I think some people think Tom Aspinall is just going to run through him. I think people think he's just going to beat him up. If he does finish Tybura, it's going to be within the first couple rounds. I do have Tom Aspinall winning the decision, but I think it could be a nitty-gritty win for Tom Aspinall. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys like these full card breakdowns these talked about, or do you want me to go back to the regular individual ones? Subscribe, like, comment. Let me know who you guys are picking, who are your locks for Saturday night in London. Let me know what you guys think. As always, peace.